we like to see the Direwolves play, putting a little bit more carry priority on the top side of the map.
Not necessarily. I mean, they did have one game against the Chiefs eSports Club where they did play 1-3-1 quite heavily in the OPL final, and they were able to pick up that victory. However, I think that Infinity is a little bit of a different beast in that regard, and I do think that this will expose an inexperienced part of the map, and I want to see now whether they continue that pressure and try and get a good jungler for SolidSnake, because if he can once again replicate the early game feats that he found the first time these guys played, then, you know, they can put some big pressure on Bio.
Now seeing how they round out this first ban phase, securing themselves a solid bottom side of the map. Braum into the Tahm, Kench, the Kaisa, of course, a power pick in this tournament thus far in the hands of Renyu. I think no surprises from what we've seen thus far.
Yeah, absolutely, and I think that Braum is a great pick into it. I was going to say Varus is probably the natural team fighting carry to come out here. They do need to be able to get something back in their favor, and I think now you start hitting potentially SolidSnake's champion pool, because we do know that Triple is a fantastic performing member of the Direwolves internationally, and we also know that Shern potentially will play a little bit of different carries. You know, he will like to go towards, you know, the Nocturnes, the Xin Zhaos, the things like that, but he also has a Hecarim that he plays, a little bit of a pocket pick, so I think there is a little bit of variety in Shern's champion pool.
For now, though, giving a lot of respect over to Cotopaco after his performance against EDG, taking the Aurelia off the board, saying no more flashy team fights for you. The Xin as well, targeted most likely at Shernfire. You have to respect it because he is kind of terrifying when he gets ahead in those early game moments.
Yeah, and Shern's kind of your 1v1, 2v2, 3v3 jungle. And then he relies heavily on Triple and King in team fights to be able to make it happen. So I think that getting rid of the early game skirmishes does set you up for good success. And I like the fact that, you know, Infinity is very clearly researched on Shern, because this is probably his two most played champions from what I have seen recently. And that is not what I expected coming out of the Direwolves lineup.
I thought maybe he'd go back to something that he's used in the past, when he used in the final, like the Zac, but the Skarner coming in for Shernfire. Also taking away from SolidSnake, though. SolidSnake, a very accomplished Skarner player in his own region, so maybe doubling up is a solid pick for Shernfire and a takeaway from Infinity.
Yeah, absolutely. I can understand that. However, SolidSnake can now go towards something a little bit more aggressive, potentially try and help Relic out in that top lane.
That's definitely more aggressive. I don't know how much it's going to do early spawn, but that is an aggressive pick, certainly.
And now they just need some magic damage. And I think, once again, you know, go towards a Galio. This composition would make so much sense. They would have such great dive onto the backside of the map. You know, you're not going to be able to save Triple, save Cupcake from the Nocturne Galio combo. We'll be able to shut down some of that map presence of the Tahm Kench as well. But it's not going to be the case. This pick ban is just, you know, everyone grabbing comfort right now.
Grabbing comfort, but I also like it because we talked, when Shernfire wasn't a part of this team, Triple and King mid to late game team fights were clutch to get this team the win. And if you have two picks that can just delete a single member, maybe you can stop Direwolves from setting themselves up in that position, but they're not going to let it happen. Is this... All right, Lissandra going into the mid lane.
Yep. I think that that is a little bit... Like, I understand what your thought is. You know, get the pick, generate a gold league, maybe fight on your terms. However, reality of the situation is now you've got Nocturne that wants to be able to dive onto the back line. No one else really able to follow him, apart from maybe a LeBlanc if you get a creative flank. At the same time, you're going to have lockdown CC coming out of Shern, coming out of Triple if you do overextend. And they don't have the best initiation coming out of the Infinity lineup. And, you know, ease of execution is something that you do have to talk about. At the same time, I mean, I think that Shern now can be a little bit more successful in this comp, and both teams very much changing up their style from what we have seen so far.
Much less about the team fights for Infinity. You know, after the success against EDG, I think we all kind of just expected them to stick to that style, but a little different here with the Nocturne, with the LeBlanc. Looking at the draft, though, Direwolves, I think a lot of things that we expected, kind of the more safe pushing bot lane over there, giving Shernfire a bit more priority with those early powerful lanes. Lissandra, though, feels like a bit of a curveball, especially after Triple was such a monster on the Azir, pretty much single-handedly starting most of the plays that won Direwolves the game.
Well, Triple really does change his playstyle based on what Shern is playing, and they've got a lot of lockdown. If they can get priority over this mid lane, expect them to be able to team up and rotate around the map. They really do use Triple as a resource that they give heavily to Shern. He is a big invading jungler. He is a big farming jungler. And I want to see whether that is the playstyle that comes out, because not going to be on the most impactful early game, but can zip around the map nicely. And Infinity would be the team right now that has the confidence after picking up that surprise upset.
Definitely the case. All eyes on Infinity. Can they bring it back? A rough day one could turn into a miraculous day two, and quite frankly, already has. But another win here sets them up for a beautiful set of tiebreakers, depending on how the rest of the day plays out. Direwolves on the opposite side. Shernfire finally returning. Not the start that they wanted without their main jungler, but getting a 1-1 on day one, not too bad. I'm going to turn it around here, hoping to show us more.
Yeah, and you know, I do want to talk about the pressure that now is on Shern, because he would have watched those 2 games from the sideline. He would have been very thankful that Ubisoft came onto the team, got themselves that victory. But as you can see, this is a guy that they really do play around, and he is an early game powerhouse, and this is what we expected to see. However, he is filling more of a facilitation role, and it's certainly not something that he has done all that much of in the OPL. And I think that they are now playing a different style, and he would be feeling the pressure, because this isn't a comfort pick. This is a situation where, you know, the rest of the team has already started up a couple of games, and I think there's a lot of pressure of the captain of the Direwolves now to be able to replicate the feats of Ubisoft on day one.
That is definitely the case, and one of the best things about Shernfire for this team is when you see a low jungle proximity there, he's just so effective with his ganks, because he shows up, he makes stuff happen, but he never has to spend too much time around his laners because he is so effective when he does. Is that going to be the case? Is someone like BioPanther going to need a little more hand-holding, not a guy we expect to play carries?
Yeah, well, the thing is that the jungle proximity is low, because what normally happens is they push waves, and then Shern is the person that walks into the jungle, and then if Shern needs help, they collapse around Shern with those pushing waves. So I think that he actually doesn't go to lanes to gank as much as people would probably think, unless he's playing something like the Zac. He is much more of a heavy invade style jungler. I think that now they're giving him a super leash, actually. Bio actually went to the second camp with Shern before going to lane. That is crazy.
You did say, when we were looking at this team on day one, hey, normally they put so many resources into Shern, but Spawn, I did not expect this man to get a 2-camp leash from the Aatrox top, who I would assume wants to be in lane to maybe contest for level 2.
Yeah, I would assume that as well, Drakos. And there is a little bit of, you know, a meme that BioPanther is the nicest guy in the OPL. He's always smiling, always happy. But I think that's a little bit too nice. You shouldn't sack your Aatrox lane to your jungler.
We saw what Relic did on that Scion in those team fights, and Urgot, an even more powerful champion in the current meta. We're going to have to see if that counts against Direwolves as we move later. If this lane advantage for Relic, this early push pressure, is going to work out for him. For now, though, Shernfire speeding through the jungle, as expected with the double leash.
Yeah, exactly right.
Bottom side.
And both junglers going for the exact same clear. This is maximum experience that you're able to pick up. Both of the junglers are level 6 impact junglers. If you face check, you also probably would go down, as that's going to be some damage.
Now, Cleanse, of course, in the back pocket of the LeBlanc does make it a little bit difficult to finish out that kill. Ignite may have been a different story, but safety here going to be important in the moments to come, especially with Shern threatening. Cotopaco, though, just continuing to level up, it feels like game to game, throwing down a lot more pressure in this early laning phase.
And I think there is something to say, you know, Infinity's first opportunity to play on the international stage, we have only seen Rainbow 7 before that. So the players on the Infinity lineup would be wanting to put their best step forward. And sometimes early on in the tournament, that can cause you to overreach. You know, the nerves would also have impacted them, and potentially rallying behind Arce, one of the most experienced members of the team, getting them a little bit more confident, saying, you know what, guys, if we just play our style, our game, we are able to take it, because, you know, if you're in the same region as Rainbow 7, a team that Direwolves have played against in the past and actually lost to historically in the past, then you would expect something great to come out of this region. And Infinity didn't show it day one, but an upset against a major region certainly would start to breathe some hope into the lineup.
Now the question becomes, where does everybody go here in the early to mid game? Level 6, as you mentioned, both for the junglers, for the mid laners, top laners as well. So it's going to be a huge action point across the map. Ultimates are key for both these compositions. And we talked about Shernfire. Normally, I feel like he does so much in the early game for this team. Yep. This time it seems like he's really content just to farm up, and it is a bit surprising.
Yeah, it certainly is, and I think what they're going to look to do now is get some good vision on top side and mid for triple, you know, allow Shern to be there for some counter ganks, but if it's not going to be any action around that lane, they'll float up the pressure of triple of Shern into the top side of the map and try and get BioPanther rolling. When you've got so much CC coming out of that top side, you know, probably a guaranteed kill if you're able to get up there. Is now some action down bottom.
A lot of patience there on the Devour from Cupcake. Like the way he played that one. Was ready for the 4th stack to try to dock that one out. Did not need to use it, so did cool down, of course, incredibly long. Does leave you quite vulnerable. And King, kind of as expected on this Varus pick, putting down a lot of lane pressure, making sure that Kaisa and that Braum cannot get a lot done.
And just highlighting Cupcake for a moment, he is one of the newer players. Wasn't at Worlds last year with the team, actually came from Legacy eSports. Historically has bought no wards. He is someone that, you know, has just used all of his gold on items. They were actually, I think, something like 40 gold shy of what Infinity purchased in the first game these two teams played against each other. Direwolves investing heavily into the items and kind of, you know, not really picking up as many control wards. And I want to track whether that becomes a factor if the game is neutral, because the Direwolves have been known to take some silly fights. And I think that the thing that impressed me against Infinity is, whilst they had a better composition for it, being able to out-team fight EDG, you know, with their starting jungler in, is certainly important. And once again, they've got a comp that is difficult to execute, but does pack a punch in this mid to late game and should be feeling confident.
Now, I think there are a lot of risks that they can take, but you highlighted it, and I just want to point it out again. Infinity really turning around what could have been a lost game. 7.4K gold deficit at the worst moments in those games, turning it around with 2 team fights. Cotopaco turning the gank around with some fancy footwork. Triple may just be caught out here. Nocturne now coming in. Self-ulti is going to be forced out, trying to buy a bit more time as Cotopaco makes it out to safety. Can they turn this one? First blood with the flash forward from Triple. Fired back on the opposite side for Infinity, but well played to turn the situation around.
Yeah, it certainly was, and Triple just trusting himself, going for the outplay there, able to get the first blood, pick that up, and also the fact that it went to the mid laner versus the jungle. Triple now will be able to control that side of Summoner's Rift. Big is the fact that Cotopaco didn't use either Summoner spell, just kind of sat on those for that gank, so potentially could be a repeat with the Nocturne ultimate coming in. But as we take a look at this one, I mean, it starts off nearly ideal for the Infinity lineup because Direwolves get split up as they go opposite ways around this wall. And as you can see, SolidSnake coming in, you think potentially if they commit onto one of the members, they can go for it. But one of the additions to Lissandra's ultimate when she was slightly reworked was the fact that it now starts healing you. And able to pick up a lot of that in that situation.
And enough to keep Triple alive, but kind of as predicted, no Summoners burn, so we're going to see more focus here in the mid lane against Triple, and it makes sense. When you see that Azir game, Azir champion, we usually expect to wait a few items before it comes online, but Triple was making plays throughout the course of the game. Now, however, it looks like he's just going to die. SolidSnake pushes the R button, Cotopaco pushes his 2. And without a Zhonya's, without a stopwatch, without an ulti, Triple just goes down.
Yeah, and that's disappointing from Shern. He should have known that that gank was coming and should have been there to defend his mid laner. You can see that the setup was just perfect. They didn't have any vision on the top side. Rift Scuttler plus the control ward already going down on that side of the map. And Triple was a sitting duck, as you mentioned, with no tools to be able to escape it. So once again, got to applaud Infinity. They've got the early game lead. See now whether they can make this scrappy teamfight comp work with it.
And can they turn it into a more? That's always the big question. This is not a team that traditionally snowballs really hard off these early kills. But if they can do that against the Direwolves, Direwolves might not get much of a chance. The Nocturne and the LeBlanc, 2 really terrifying champions when it comes to picking a team apart.
Well, that's what it's going to come down to is, can they attack the side lanes with the Nocturne, with the LeBlanc, and how successfully can it happen? So I would almost expect that if they can't look to break a turret, and if bottom lane keeps going this poorly, that they try and open up the map. Now, obviously, against the Tahm Kench, that is difficult, but they don't want to be stuck in a protracted laning phase. You know, where Shern's just continuing to farm up the jungler, where Triple can get towards that Zhonya's Hourglass as his second item, and they will have more tools available for the Direwolves lineup. So do need to track the fact that, you know, King and Cupcake starting to build up that CS lead.
And that's good. It keeps the gold pretty close to even. Only 400 in favor of Infinity, despite the kill advantage. First blood, a little bit of CS, keeping Direwolves in the game, at least for now. Things really do just even up here, actually. Blue buff handed off to Cotopaco, though. I think we can expect to continue to have him start to push in this lane, but Triple still playing with a lot of confidence, not going for the Aftershock, not the tanky Lissandra, more about the Electrocute and actually winning out in some of these trades.
Yeah, and if he did go for Aftershock, probably would have lacked a little bit of damage in these teamfights, would have been relying heavily on King. As we mentioned, BioPanther not really known to be a threat. Relic seems very comfortable in this laning phase, and Bio actually going incredibly defensive, so see how that one works out. Shern looks like he aggroed Dragon, and Triple really not happy with that decision-making, I don't think.
Luckily, there's a fruit there, but that's an oopsie. We'll definitely call it one of those. And Shern, does he want to turn back for this? Looks like for now they just settle for the Scuttle Crab, giving him an extra leash. How many people are going to leash Shernfire?
Well, that's the thing, is that this team plays solely around their jungler. And that's why it was a massive deal when he was suspended for the first 2 games of Worlds, because it's not like, you know, a little bit of their game plan revolves around this guy. They really only do fight when he comes to their lanes. As I said, he's a heavy invade style jungle. I think they have thrown a curveball here because he is not really on that style of jungle for this game. But we'll see whether, you know, he can find some of those picks during the mid game, because right now the
So it's like
Been
it may
underwhelming.
just be the time. Locking LeBlanc down, not really a lot of options for her to run through. Cotopaco now running for his life. All to use. Cleanse immediately going to be the follow-up. Dashing out to safety, and Shernfire just left chasing. Not going to get anything, but here comes the Nocturne to try and turn and burn right immediately onto the Lissandra. Not quite enough damage to pull back. The Fear still going to connect. One more auto. SolidSnake gets it. Shernfire's in no man's land. The flash forward. That's the double for Infinity. But the immediate follow back from King. Oh, the kill out of nowhere. Direwolves collapse on the Infinity lineup. Cotopaco, though, still going to make it out to safety. Not going to be able to chase him down in the jungle.
Yeah, don't even go for it. Instead, they just preserve the time, get Bio back into the top lane. But that was a disaster out of Shern. He actually just dragged a jungler back on top of his mid laner. Probably cost Triple his life. But as I mentioned, you know, when he calls, the rest of the Wolfpack answers. This starts off and it looks fantastic. You know, Triple goes forward, baits out the full combo. Cotopaco, nothing else left available in his kit. I think there should have been a flash right there from Shern. Got caught on a creep. Didn't want to burn the summoner spells, had the Chilling Smite available as well. And just a turnaround gank potential as you keep highlighting. And this is what I'm talking about. Shern kind of pulls him closer to Triple, gives him 2 free auto attacks as opposed to spacing that one out. Just something small.
Completes the Fear Tether, and luckily King is here. Cupcake is here to respond in this Acer Predator replay, but sadly, BioPanther can't keep that going and take out the LeBlanc. So at the end of the day, Infinity not at all hesitating to make these plays happen and turn some of the plays that Direwolves have started.
And that's what we need to say, you know, the no hesitation, the ability to be able to just play on that edge of risk versus reward, because we've already seen once that Direwolves, if the game slows down, if it goes to team fights, look to be the more coordinated team in that situation. However, if Infinity can get under their skin, especially someone like Shernfire, he's an emotional player, prone heavily to tilt, even in domestic games. As we already mentioned, I think there's a lot of pressure on him, and he's losing out in this jungle matchup. SolidSnake having a very impressive early game.
Now a little bit of aggression on the bottom side. Kaisa going to look to go in for a little bit more, forcing out the devour from Tahm. Kench can't stop himself from getting stunned, however. Trying to buy a bit more time for King to run out of this one, but the Braum is doing so much damage. That's the Kaisa ulti being used up. King is going to fall, and now their eyes are set on Cupcake. May just make it out to safety. Not going to push for the dive, but Infinity with the 2v2 kill.
And this is what happens when you use summoner spells in the mid lane to try and take down an opponent. All of a sudden, King pushing up in that lane, trying to continue the aggression with his completed walk, but not able to get it done. That actually might result in a mid lane turret. You can see Ping's on the way. The rest of the team wants to get in on the action.
Shernfire ready to fight for this one. Relic is here. Both top laners are here. Just going to be 60-70% of the tower's health, though. Not quite enough priority, but it does mean the bot lane is free to hit onto that tower. Now, Cupcake coming in, a TP coming in. Direwolves going to look for the turn. Haven't quite found anything yet, though. Renyu's still completely untouched on the backside. Now the Nocturne comes out. They can't see the Kaisa. She's weaving in and out of the fight. It's effortless. Lissandra ulti is not followed up whatsoever. And here comes death and destruction for the Direwolves. Shernfire turning as much as he can. That's 2 kills. Getting traded back and forth. But at the end of the day, the 3 for 2 in favor of the Infinity lineup.
And that was such an impressive ultimate. Now Relic once more.
One more. Gonna bring him back. Fear beyond death. And there's not another name for Tilted after that one. Direwolves have to pull it together after a play like that.
And Infinity are just rolling at the moment, going to be able to translate it into a turret as well. And the Direwolves looked rocked. Absolutely no response coming out of them there. Every single play they look to make, Drakos, is just turned on them. And this is getting ugly very quickly.
And Infinity, they're just leveling up in every single game we see them. Have to look at this one more time. I feel like the thought process is good here from the Direwolves.
Yeah, it certainly is. I mean, they think they overextended mid lane. We have the global comp. Let's beat them around the map. But Arce just blocked out all of the damage, and they hold the ultimate until the rest of the team is ready to get into range. As soon as Cotopaco is here, you see the 2-pronged attack flies in. On the backline, Renyu, just superstar 80 carry, puts on the dancing shoes. What a play out of the rookie. And just the ability to continue the fight, you know, the confidence to flash for a kill. You really have to admire the gusto that is coming out of the lineup at the moment.
Absolutely stellar play. I feel like so many individual members are stepping up. SolidSnake, you know, has been a factor in these games, but has never been the center of attention. But his Nocturne 5-1-2 now, and Triple 2 kills there, doing his best to kind of fight this back, but still just not enough in these fights right now for the Direwolves. They're looking very lost.
And I think that they've finally identified the kind of linchpin of the team, and that is Triple being able to push out mid lane wave on these control mages and turn into a team fighting beast. And they have picked on him at the earlier stages of the game. The reason not really successful domestically is maybe due to a lack of coordination between the mid laners and the junglers of the OPL, and a reason that Shern is such a highly prized possession. But I think that the persistent of SolidSnake and Cotopaco to really stick to that game plan is impressive. They go again.
Is coming out, chaining it together. The Tahm Kench doing what he can to save his AD carry. King's going to get spat out. He's going to try to move his way back, but the Braum is blocking any follow-up, and Shernfire dies before he can take anyone else. Left all alone under the tower. King goes down again.
And one more time, they make the play. They get everything out of the Direwolves, and there is no response. They're also moving in on mid lane, and you can just see right now, Shern has no answers for what SolidSnake is doing. Anywhere this Nocturne goes, Direwolf members die.
Absolute domination from the inside of Infinity. We wanted to see if they could snowball Spawn, if they could take these early leads and turn them into something greater, and they have been doing it at every single turn.
And once again, Shern thinks he's read the play, but he's spotted out just as they go in, and the ability to just continue in on the play. I mean, he's not doing anything. He's just stunned in the front line. You got to say Arce tags up every single member there. Maximum CC coming out. Renyu even nearly clips Cupcake in the back end of that. They take themselves another turret. They've got themselves a 4,000 gold lead. And the Direwolves, when they fell behind the first time these teams played, pumped the gas. They said, you know what, we can slow this down. We will team fight. But that's just not in Shern's wheelhouse. You know, that must have been a call coming from someone else on the team. And one more time, they want to start up the fight.
King running for his life. He may just burn down inside the Tahm Kench.
Oh.
He does. Killing spree now. They're going to try to take him out. Tahm Kench might just get a snack, but I don't know if it's going to be enough. Nocturne now running. The Braum is there to defend, but the shutdown comes in for sure. And Lissandra over the wall wants to lock up the 80 carry, wants to bring it back for the Direwolves, but the concussive blows are there, and Renyu is running for his life. The Aatrox burns him down where he stands, and Cotopaco now looking for the retreat. Can't go for the fancy footwork, trying to dodge his way out. Triple does not hesitate to flash in. Cotopaco gonna burn his flash as well.
Oh.
Dashing over! Oh my god, outplayed! BioPanther can't get anything back. Cotopaco is just styling. Where did this guy come from?
That means you're feeling it right there. Able to go for the 2v1 outplay. 4-1-6 Cotopaco right now, as you mentioned, just in the zone. And that was a 4v5 Drakos. They didn't even bring Relic to the team fight. This Urgot was just sitting in the side lane, and they're still able to win out in the advantage.
What do you...
What do you say?
What do you say?
Every single time King goes near vision, he just dies. Burns inside the Tahm Kench. Fighting Skarner on his Relic when you don't have really any rotation of spells left is always dangerous. Shern will get a shutdown. I think that this fight was starting to look good. The early rotation out of Bio was probably the factor here, but I mean, they're just so far behind, and they probably could have cut their losses after this point, run up, but they greed out. They want to be able to take down the LeBlanc as well, but apparently today, Cotopaco has very much showed up to play League of Legends.
Yeah, Cats have 9 lives, Cotopaco has like 12. This man is unstoppable. You want to know why they call LeBlanc the Deceiver? It's plays like that. 4-1-6. He has cleanse and a QSS. He has paid the tax and is still ahead of his lane opponent. No one expected this going into today. Even after watching this team beat EDG, I don't think anybody expected this dominant of an early game from Infinity. These guys are incredible on the stage. But now, 4K difference standing between the teams. Spawn, you know Direwolves like the back of your hand. You cast this team all the time. What are their routes back in? How do they come back in this game?
I mean, I think they're just going to continue to look to fight. They're certainly not a team to back down. They win or lose very quickly historically. It was against the grain when they stalled out the first time this happened, and it wasn't to the same degree against Infinity. I think it was to the tune of about 2,000 gold the first time around. So really, I do expect them to throw caution to the wind and start looking for their windows. Problem is that anywhere Nocturne is right now, anywhere where this LeBlanc is, you just cannot respond in kind. So it's going to have to probably be onto the side laner of Relic. And one more time, Arce just clearing out this vision. Baron going to start becoming available, and the game really is going to be dictated on Infinity's terms.
Just a difficult spot to be. You looked at Triple, you looked at King in a lot of those late game fights in their previous matchup. Both of them incredibly far behind. The one person who's doing well on the team, BioPanther, on a champion you don't usually expect to see him on, in a role he doesn't usually play, but maybe this is his moment to shine for Oceania and the Direwolves. 2-0-0 on that Aatrox. Direwolves committing the TP into mid lane. Nocturne, of course, with that ultimate up means he can be anywhere. And if what you told me is true, Spawn, then King should pretty much just always be scared when the salty is up.
Yeah, he certainly should be. I mean, last time the Devour came through and it still didn't do anything. You can just see they're looking to attack the side lane. Cotopaco goes in, he's in trouble.
Trying to run out, trying to get his way to safety, but has so many tools to get away from the hard CC here. Just wants to focus on taking out the opposition, wants to leap to safety. Skarner gonna bring him back though. Nearsighted, not quite enough. Cotopaco getting pulled back, but he still manages to live. King gonna burn him down, shut down for the side of Direwolves. Exactly what they needed to bring them down.
Yeah, and a little bit of disrespect. Relic looking for the continued fight here.
Gonna continue leaping in. Now Urgot ulti has been tagged in. Aatrox wants to bring it back, hitting so many members. All the damage, and Infinity now on the retreat. No one be going down yet.
And Arce shield MVP there, because otherwise Triple would have been able to get back in. It would have cost him his life, but he would have got the snare. However, Braum holds the line. Still will mean that they pick up a top lane turret for it, but you can see the Direwolves heads up play out of Cupcake. Able to rotate them to that one early, and Cotopaco not really respecting the Tahm Kench, and I think, you know, showing that potentially they are adding more strings to the Direwolves' bow. Not the outright aggression, but still willing to pick their mark.
15 kills to 8. Direwolves are trading back here and there. Only a 3K advantage for Infinity. You're talking about a 2K advantage earlier that they came back from. Don't have as many tools, but clearly still a team that is willing to make the plays to come back. Now focusing on sieging the mid lane as we take a look at this one.
And once again, you know, we just mentioned the fact that didn't really respect the ward lane. They hadn't been able to get anything deep. There was a pink ward on the back of Red Brush for the Direwolves, and they invest a lot to take down Cotopaco here, but it's because he is the maximum shutdown bonus going across there. You can see King picks that one up, and they continue the fight. And whilst I understand, you know what, you have the gold leech, they burn a lot to pick up your mid laner. Wasn't overreaching. You can see that the Direwolves nearly turned it even harder. Probably lucky to only lose one member there, Infinity, and I think that this was the danger. They've had a better early game, you know. Can they now reassess the state of the map and pick the smart fights that they need to be able to go, or will they just continue to play to the Direwolves' tune?
That is going to be the big question. Triple doing what he can to clear out the vision, not quite going to finish the ward. Shernfire ready to commit for it, however. His mid control becomes the name of the game for the Direwolves lineup, committing so many members just to get a bit more push in here, but willing to back off when they see Infinity respond in kind. 22 minutes spawn, wind is barren, become a big threat for either of these teams.
Yeah, I mean, there's just so much damage that comes out of Infinity right now, so if they win a team fight, Baron's immediately going to be on the cards. They can take it with a couple of members. However, you don't really want to file into a pit against a Varus as well as Lissandra. So I think that their vision control on the top side of the map needs to be better. You can see Direwolves have the double control wards behind the pit, are going to be able to spot out any incursions into their top side of the jungle, and I think that that will give them some safety and the ability to stall this game out for a little bit longer. Just comes down to whether they make another mistake, whether they do overextend for some CS, because it has not been a clean game from either of these teams, really. I mean, we're at a kill a minute. That is very messy.
Very messy indeed, and we have to see if Infinity are going to continue to have the same confidence they did early on to pull the trigger against a pick like Tahm Kench, to burn those ultis, and to feel confident that they can just pick a member off before the fight even starts. Because, you know, you fail once like that on the top side, maybe you start to second guess yourself. Because when you give over a big shutdown, suddenly the enemy is just that much scarier.
Yeah, it certainly is, and I mean, you can already see that they have taken the easy objectives off the map. You know, the 3 outer ring of turrets. The Direwolves have got no turrets so far. So any team fight the Direwolves win, if it's decisive, will open up the map, you know, not just from the shutdowns, but from the standing gold perspective. And this is where, you know, discipline comes in. This is where you want to see them go back, everyone picking up the control wards, pushing out the mid and top wave and being able to go for those plays. But maybe Cotopaco again in trouble.
Not going to get connected there. Stun will not go through. Predator has now been used. And I feel like in those tense situations, Spawn, a lot more attention gets turned to the leaders of both teams. Arce, legendary support from Lion on this team, building it back, taking it this far. And Shernfire returning to the lineup, playing a different style with him now at the helm, but have to see him have some calm, cool composure if they want to go further in this match.
Absolutely, and other vocal members of the team, you know, both Cupcake and BioPanther are actually quite talkative in the Direwolves comms, so see whether they can continue that. But I think that, you know, QSS tax now starting to play a major factor. You've picked up 3 of them. They're a great item. You're against a Lissandra, against a Varus, as well as the Skarner, so certainly a lot of CC to get out of, but just raw stat for stats, you're paying a lot for the active in what could be a scrappy 2v2, 3v3 kind of game. So this gold lead starting to mean less and less as the game progresses. And I want to see some of that mid-game aggression that we have seen, maybe now.
Nocturne ulti is going to be used right onto the Aatrox. Of course, does have the ultimate available if he wants to use it. Not going to use it quite yet. Wants to use it shortly to fear, just not quite enough. BioPanther will be forced down. Shernfire now coming in. Looks like they're going to back off and just be happy with a single ultimate in the end.
Ultimate for ultimate. You have to say that, you know, if you get it out of the 2-0 Aatrox or the 6-2-6.
Lissandra now looking for the follow-up on LeBlanc. Isn't going to go through with it.
I would rather get out the Nocturne ultimate because now all of a sudden the map pressure not as much. They go forward one more time.
This team is not hesitating to try to find the play, but Triple's going to find his way right into the back line. Moving forward, 4 members locked up. Not quite the damage they needed, but here comes the follow-up from the Direwolves, now hunting down the individual members. That's going to be the double for BioPanther. Urgot in the middle of everybody. If he can get the ult, maybe the fear can help him turn it, but it's too little, too late. Firing shots back into the belly of Cupcake, and a beautiful fight for the Direwolves.
Yeah, it certainly was. They pick up 3 members. Cotopaco looking to see if he can return fire, but they head towards the Baron. And we mentioned the fact that the Direwolves will get back through fighting. I really think that Infinity just played their game for too long, and Direwolves make them pay.
And BioPanther showing up this game, 4-0-0. The guy stuck on the dog champs, no more tanks for him. The Aatrox here coming in clutch in these fights. Cotopaco now getting lacked up. Has to flash for safety, already is slow. The Kaisa, though, picking him off on the side of the fight. Baron no longer an option.
Yeah,
Infinity.
They've actually just pulled off. They've maybe caught out Cotopaco. He will have to burn a cleanse.
Is just going to get locked up. No, the juke still will drop in the end. But Infinity saved themselves for what could have been disaster and a Baron for Direwolves. Now Arce wants to leap forward. I feel like every time I see anybody leap spawn, a fight is going to start. I don't even need to check ultimates. Someone's killing somebody.
Yeah, and this all came off the fact that they had sent Bio back. But, you know, he's able to run back down mid lane, and they didn't account for triple on the flank. Jack covered it terrifically. This isn't an aftershock Lissandra, but that's 2.5 seconds. This is another 2.5 seconds, and no one has moved past triple, which means that the rest of the Direwolves lineup are just free firing. Unfortunately, if you're Relic, you're not going to be able to get out of this, and it looked like they were going to pay the maximum. It looked like Baron was going to be picked up by a team that had taken 0 turrets so far. But you got to applaud Cotopaco, you got to applaud Renyu of being able to chase them away from that objective. Direwolves, however, still clawing their way back in.
And after that beautiful fight from Direwolves, you still have to remember that Infinity have the gold lead. A very strong Nocturne, Kaisa, and LeBlanc. Relic doing quite well for himself as well. The team fights may just get harder as Lissandra gets more items under her belt, but she can continue to hit 4-man ultimates and snares.
It's not only that, they just have a beefier front line, right? They've got themselves a Tahm Kench to be able to save people, but then you got Shern, who's going to be building tank. No pure tanks really, apart from Braum, going to come out on the Infinity lineup, and BioPanther with that level 16 ultimate is just going to be annoying. Ultimate goes in.
TP now coming out. Braum going to do what he can to disengage to keep this tower alive, but the Direwolves have baited the teleport. Maybe that's all they wanted. Hoping to catch Infinity sleeping. Catch him off guard. BioPanther returns to the bottom side, has a TP of his own to start the team pressuring Baron.
Yeah, that makes that ultimate massive, that teleport massive, because now all of a sudden BioPanther has his. Relic cannot answer him in the side lane because he's 4 kills. Can't even bounce waves with him. So they have no other choice but to start up this Baron buff and try and force the TP out.
Shern is here. TP now coming out.
Oh!
You gotta wonder if that needed to be committed. Cotopaco gonna get some free damage down and return to his team. No TP advantage for either side now. And just a battle in the mid lane. Both teams seemingly content to just keep fighting this one out.
And you can see how nervous they are. You know, that teleport was not needed. They hadn't committed to the Baron yet. You already have the ability to fight with Varus, with your Lissandra. But they don't go for the fight. Now they might.
Now Braum already using the shield there. Lissandra going on the front. Nocturne ready to turn this one. If that ultimate goes down, they are going to go right into the middle of the team, trying to lock everybody up. So many low health bars, but Lissandra buying a bit more time. BioPanther cutting through the backline as best he can. That's the ultimate proc. Resurrection now coming through on the Nocturne. They want to bring it back. Direwolves on the retreat, but they haven't lost any major members yet. BioPanther lives in the end, and Direwolves retreat untouched.
And one more time, Infinity think they have the team fight. Everyone on top of them, but there's just no one falling down. Bio and Shern are too tanky. They will get themselves the objective in the Dragon, but Direwolves doing a fantastic job of just holding their line.
And now we just keep checking in on this gold spawn. And that 3K gold lead just continues to shrink, and those dragons are, of course, going to be incredibly important. The mountain especially for forcing the Baron in the future. But Direwolves really making a mountain out of a molehill after that incredibly difficult early game to make it this far.
Just given the fact that King is up 40 CS, he's been able to grab himself 2 shutdowns. He's got the 3 items so far in this game. If the Varus is allowed to free hit, he will be fine. He's actually upping gold against his opponent in saying that there is no late game carry like a late game Kaisa at the moment. And he's going for a death cap. So he's going to pack a punch if he gets into the backline.
And that's confidence. You know, we've seen Banshee's Veils, we've seen Hourglasses. This man says QSS, 1 defensive item, that's enough. Let's go straight for the death cap. Shern doing what he can with the adaptive helm to limit some of that AP Kaisa damage, but the rest of the team so incredibly vulnerable. Even King now going for a null magic mantle, potentially a hex drinker, just to keep himself alive a little bit longer.
Yeah, and you know, I would like the hex drinker. Generally, you would say something like a QSS, but you're not really outplaying anything apart from Relic. And if he gets past your front line, well, the fight's already gone pretty poorly for you at that situation. However, there is always the chance that Cotopaco is just going to pop you, that potentially Renyu flies into your face, and you just need a little bit more help being able to mitigate.
There's a lot of people that are going to leap into your face if you misstep.
Yep.
Infinity are still ready. Like sharks, just looking for that blood in the water. Not going to see it yet, not going to smell it yet. Direwolves not giving them the opportunity just to battle for vision for right now. Mid-priority going to be crucial, and Infinity actually juking him out. Predator being used. OPL and Direwolves, no strangers to 50-50 Barons. Shern wants a heroic moment, a heroic comeback. It would be smiting this Baron. 600, not going to get it. Nocturne secures it. Direwolves, are they going to look for the fight? The Varus ulti goes wide, but Triple is in the middle of everyone. Buying what time he can. BioPanther going in. Renyu already taking down Shernfire. 2 kills already down. SolidSnake taking everyone out on the back line, and this is disaster for the Direwolves.
And the teleport just came too late. Triple not willing to go into the fray immediately. They commit to the Baron. They take the team fight, and now they can look to push into the base.
Spawn, I cannot believe the confidence from Infinity, despite losing out on some of these plays, just to continue forcing over and over again, to find a weakness in the Direwolves lineup, and right when it matters most, they managed to sneak that Baron under the noses of Direwolves, take the fight to follow. Are they going to be greedy enough to go for the end? I don't think so. But Cotopaco still wants blood, and it's absolutely fearless.
Yeah, if that chain had landed, you would have maybe thought about the re-engage instead. They're just going to pick up the maximum turret value around the map, continue to rebuild the gold lead that they had earlier in the game. And you got to say, the courageous plays just continue to come out of Infinity. We said the game could get harder as it progresses, but the ability to start up the Baron twice, force out the teleports, and this time the Direwolves didn't have the right answer. Would have loved to have seen that teleport come actually towards where Cupcake and King was. Shern commits for the steal, and the rest of the team wants to fight. And if you're in a situation where your jungler is going for a steal, everyone else is fighting, there is a miscommunication because you cannot do both at once. Infinity pick up the maximum, punish them on both accounts, and now in command of this game.
And Direwolves caught in that situation without a control ward, no vision into the pit, so it was Shernfire guessing when to go in blind.
Oh. That is a big bar of damage coming out of Renyu. In fact, he did more damage than the entire Direwolves lineup. So that's good.
That's pretty terrifying. They may want to kill that guy. Sadly, he does have a QSS and a Braum to protect him.
And a death cap. Gotta remember the big shield that comes out.
And an hourglass, or rather the stopwatch. So, Direwolves, this is the moment of truth. Can they defend this inhibitor? For now, using the Aatrox, using Lissandra to clear the waves as safely as they can. Cupcake just having a snack.
Yeah, dangerous, however, to use the Devour on a creep at this stage of the game. You can see that Infinity read that walk up, a little bit more turret damage coming down. Not to mention the fact that they've got Cotopaco with a flash, with a cleanse, escorting super creeps with a Baron buff into the mid wave. So if no one answers him, he will just end the game.
But if BioPanther leaves, they may just go straight for the fight. Nocturne ulti up and available. Will they use it here? Cotopaco just trying to find a flank, trying to find an avenue to go in. Going down a little bit of poke onto Triple. Triple, I think pretty obviously looking for a flank here. Infinity are going to know that this is coming, and they're just moving down into it.
Die.
Triple Ulti now already forced out. Nocturne ulti going to be used. They're going to immediately go in on a triple, try to lock him up. He's going to make it over the wall, but right into no man's land. Not a lot of doubt left in this team fight. Infinity just clearing through the Direwolves lineup. Shernfire running for his life. Braum blocking everything that Direwolves fire back as the double kill does manage to go through. Varus takes down the Braum. The fight just continues, though. Renyu untouched is just having a field day in this fight, though, as they clear through the Quadra. Are they going to give it to him? That's the Penta coming through for the Kaisa.
And you wonder why they compare the young man to White Lotus, able to style on the Wolfpack and guarantee his team the victory.
0-2 start, 2-0 finish. Beautiful from Infinity.
What a turnaround from day 1 to day number 2 for this lineup. Just able to continue the grind in each of their games, Drakos, really not losing the sight of what they wanted to be able to do. And you really have to admire this team. The bounce back now means that unless there's a three-way tie, they are progressing.
This is momentous. With the difficulties of KLG, a lot of people were speculating Latin America, how are they going to do overall at the tournament? But almost single-handedly, Infinity, redemption for them when they beat EDG, and now potentially making it out, pushing it out, forcing a tiebreaker at least in this group. It's an incredible look for this team, for this lineup. And for more on how Infinity got a 2-0, let's gather some thoughts from the analysts.
Wow. All I can say for how Infinity looked on day 1 versus how they looked here today. First they take down EDG, and then they take down the Direwolves, and now their faith is completely turned around. What a story.
Yeah, it feels like between day 1 and day 2 appearances, this is the biggest turnaround we've had all playing stage. It just looks completely different, and they have great drafts, great team play, and everyone's stepping up at different points.
Yeah.
They must have had a great talking to, because remember the whole discussion with like the schedule changes happening, the visa discussion, the fact that they just got to Korea, the jet lag, remember, that's 12 hours differences.
Yeah.
So they faced a lot of problems in day 1, and it's fantastic to see that it all shaped up.
I was talking to Skyshock, who is one of the casters for the LLN, and he said even now they're still so jet lagged. They got up at 4 a.m., they were so nervous, and somehow they won versus EDG. I think he was trying to make an apology before the loss happened, but it wasn't necessary. Infinity goes from strength to strength, and much isn't thanks to the MasterCard player of the game, SolidSnake. Oh my gosh, this jungle just went off. This is a guy, by the way, who played for a nearly twice relegated team, Zaga Gaming, for most of the year, that was picked up because the coach Soren had faith in him, and man, is he repaying that faith.
Yeah, he came up huge this game. He was looking at Shernfire like he was the Shadowhog from MGS3, always hunting him down. And it was actually him and Cotopaco together, working together for a lot of the early kills in the mid game, as well as collapsing around the bot lane. And there's a period of time where he had 100% kill participation up until around 10 of the kills. And that was the huge part of the game that got them until the late game, where the Kaisa started to take over a little bit more.
Yeah, there were a few points where it was Shernfire trying to get a gank off mid and bottom lane, but every single time SolidSnake was actually able to get a great counter gank through, and just making it super difficult for Triple, because Triple would blow off his ultimate, and then nothing would come off, and he would be able to capitalize.
Hey, and Raz, damn, how much does this hurt for Shernfire? This guy he's hailed as the best jungler in the OPL. He, by his own doing, gets taken out of his first 2 games at Worlds, and then he comes back. Everyone's excited because it can only be better, and he gets completely out-jungled by SolidSnake.
Well, at this point, fans might be wishing he took himself out for 4 games. I don't think they're going to be too excited with if they go up against EDG and lose and end up getting knocked out of this group stage.
It's rough that that's your warm-up game. It really is. That that's the one you come out with. So it's kind of rough. He comes out with the Skarner play, and Jake was completely right in that it completely changes their style to play around him, so he can actually get the ganks across. He does it around mid lane, but a lot of it just comes down to the execution errors that they weren't able to get Cotopaco incredibly well done to be able to escape away from those ganks and then turn it on its head.
Yeah, not to toot my own horn, but I did ask you guys when we heard that Shernfire was coming back. You know, it's been going so well. Triple gets all this agency. He can step up, he can carry. King can do what he wants. And now it did seem a bit like a different Direwolves. But yeah.
I mean, slightly different Direwolves, but I do think the majority of the credit goes to Infinity.
Yes,
I
of
think
course.
they're the ones who look a lot different because, to be fair, this was a pretty back and forth game. I do think the OPL representatives had plenty of chances to actually take this one, but
BioPanther stepping up.
yeah, BioPanther had a great game, but it did feel like every step of the way, someone else was outperforming them on the other side.
That was the thing, night and day difference. The fact that, sure, the MasterCard player of the game goes towards SolidSnake, but then there was the Cotopaco that we talked about, the pentakill going on to Renyu, the Rookie of the Year.
Rookie nonetheless, yeah.
Exactly, Renyu. All of the players are coming off big. The fact that it was actually BioPanther that was the best player coming out of Direwolves was insane coming out of both teams.
Maybe telling. I do also want to take a look at the Baron fight because often when teams get down in the dirt and have a lot of fights, it can go south, but Infinity also played this one out.
Yeah, you see a little bit of a late blast went over. They didn't have vision, so it was unfortunately blind for him. But from this point on, Cotopaco's on the backside, scaring and eventually killing the Varus out, and this allows them to win this fight, which is probably going to go in their favor anyways.
That just changes the entire, station of the fight. Lissandra comes in, sure, that's a 4-man stun, but she doesn't actually do much damage with that, that late in the game, that far behind. And SolidSnake immediately just realizes this, take down the Varus. That was actually a really difficult game for King that was constantly getting picked off.
Yeah, absolutely. A difficult game. And, once again, credit to Infinity's individual talent, which we knew was there. But the fact that they're able to play together now too, Raz, because from the beginning you said individually Cotopaco is a great player. SolidSnake can make things happen. But, it all has to click on the world stage.
Yeah, and they really shook it off. Just from one day to the next, the fact that they were still very confident in their own play, starting off with EDD 2. When we had a discussion about this, going into this, they were like, well, this is the game that tilts them off the face of the earth, right? If they want to have a comeback, maybe it starts with Direwolves, but the fact that they have to start off with the best team in the group, major upset and riding that momentum through, that's how you want to do it.
And the only way this day can get any better with all the other upsets going on is if Direwolf wins as well, we get the three-way tie in Group A that we said was supposed to be the most decided group coming into the day.
Ever. So Direwolves have to win, or the LLN with Infinity Gaming go through to the next round. Crazy stuff, and maybe more crazy stuff right after this, as coming up next, G2, they have the opportunity to force a tiebreaker for the #1 seed going into knockouts. Let's see if they can deliver the win versus Ascension, or if Ascension plays spoiler.
Not going to get anything, but here comes the Nocturne to try and turn and burn right immediately onto the Lissandra. Not quite enough damage to hold back. The Fear still going to connect. One more auto. SolidSnake gets in. Shernfire's in no man's land. The flash forward. That's the double for Infinity. But the immediate follow back from King. Oh, the kill! Lissandra ulti is not followed up whatsoever. And here comes death and destruction for the Direwolves. Shernfire turning as much as he can. That's 2 kills. Getting traded back and forth.
I'm behind them here. I'm looking.
Kill the Braum.
Yep. Front to back.
I wanna go.
This guy.
Yeah.
No flash. Varus se murió. Tanques.
A la casa, huevones.
Tanques. Va tu casa, perros. Let's go. Win.
Not a lot of doubt left in this team fight. Infinity just clearing through the Direwolves lineup. Shernfire running for his life. Braum blocking everything that Direwolves fire back as the double kill does manage to go through. Varus takes down the Braum. The fight just continues, though. Renyu, untouched, is just having a field day in this fight, though, as they clear through the Quadra. Are they going to give it to him? That's the Penta.